Have you ever gotten your check back from work, or you got your direct deposit and it wasn't the amount you expected it would be? Or you felt like you deserved a little more than what you earned? Minimum wage is not high enough. It's not high enough to support a family. It's not high enough to support people who live in more expensive cities, like in California or in New York, especially where rent is very high. Minimum wage is not enough to pay for all the expenses. President Biden is endorsing a plan to double the minimum wage, which was $7 in the past, to eventually $15, because he believes that it will be enough money to support a family of four. But truthfully, that money is not going to support a family of four. Gradually raising the federal minimum wage from $15 to $15 would lift the pay for 32 million workers, which is nearly 21% of the workforce, which is a positive factor. But don't we want more people to have their pays lifted so they can support their family? Affected workers from the pandemic who work year-round, earned $3,300 this year. Enough to make a difference in their life, but also enough to help their struggle in paying for rent, food for their children, schools, colleges. A majority of workers whose total family income is below the poverty line would receive a pay increase if the minimum wage were raised higher. This problem is caused because we need to keep minimum wage at a certain level so that the world, the economy, doesn't get unbalanced, basically. A $15 minimum wage raise will be positive for a lot of people. I know it is positive for me, but sometimes I'm just an 18-year-old girl. I don't need to pay for any expenses like an apartment right now. My money is just going towards my savings for when I do transfer to another school, or for when I need to pay rent when I move out. But right now, I'm a student living at my house, my parents' house, and I don't need to pay for those things. So really the money is just helping me save for expenses in the future or other expenses that I want to get. And honestly, if I were living with children and a family and I had to pay for food, like groceries, clothes, rent, all the household expenses, electricity, water, car insurance, I would be struggling so much. My life wouldn't have the joy I hoped it would be. In the future, I want to have a household that we feel comfortable in, where we can spend some money on things we like if we want to, like for Christmas and such. But this amount of money would not even support birthdays and Christmas and things like that. Nearly even supports the expenses of living. Some say a solution to this issue is raising it by $33 an hour, but also raising it this high could not really stimulate the economy, make it unbalanced, let a lot of people lose their jobs perhaps. So I think we should find an amount that supports everyone, that is good enough for everyone, averages out to help people keep this expenses, this stable amount to pay their house and their apartment, all of that. According to the New York Times, the lowest skilled workers tend to be the lowest paid workers. So that is an issue where if you don't work hard enough, if you're working at McDonald's, you don't get paid as much as you would be if you were working, let's say, in retail, which I think is very unfair. I think everybody should be paid the same amount because everyone has different situations, everyone is paying off different things, so we should all be paid the same amount, no matter how hard we're working. Although there are some jobs that aren't a lot of work, people interviewed and they worked for that job and they need that money for a reason, so they should be paid a fair amount. In conclusion, raising the minimum wage is a good start to ending poverty, and I believe we must find a way to raise it for families to be stable and support their cost of living.